The film begins with Queen Gorgo narrating. She begins with King Darius bringing his army of Persians into Greece in the Battle of Marathon. The Athenian commander Theistic led his army against them at the coasts. The Greeks mercilessly and swiftly cut out the Persians one by one, paving the way for the mystical to aim. Darius viewing the massacre from his ship. The mystical lifts a bow and arrow ready to do the act that would make him renowned as a legend. He releases the bow just in time for Darius's son Xerxes to see. He hurries to his father's side, but it is too late to save him since the arrow pierces him. Xerxes hugs his father in his arms and locks eyes with the mystic. The latter walks away with Gorgo claiming that he knew in his heart that he made a mistake by not killing Xerxes when he had the chance. Darius is brought to his kingdom to lay on his deathbed. He and Xerxes are joined by Artesia, Darius' commanding naval commander, who is known to be as ruthless as she is beautiful. She holds Darius' hand in his final moments, and he advises Xerxes that it is better to depart. Only the gods can vanquish the Greeks. Artemia takes the arrow out of his chest, ending his misery for a week. Xerxes sits and mourns his father's death. On the 8th day Artesia holds Xerxes and tells him that his father's last words were not a warning but a challenge. If only the gods can defeat the Greeks, then she tells him he is to become the god king. Artesia has Xerxes sent into the desert wearing chains until he walks into a cave with a pool of bright gold liquid. Xerxes steps in with, as Gorgo states, a dark desire for power and revenge. The Persians enthusiastically applaud as Xerxes is ready to lead his army on land through the Ropo. Artesia ready to ready her naval at sea in Athens. Meanwhile, the mystic meets with the council to discuss his naval strategy for taking on the Persians. Xerxes emerges with a golden tinge and fiery red ice, also hairless and a foot taller. Meanwhile, Artesia kills off all the former allies of the man that Xerxes once was. Insisting that fighting for freedom is what is best for Greece, Miles demands that the best ships be purchased for him to go into battle and informs the council that he will seek assistance from the Spartans. The Athenians want to defeat the Persians with all of their might, but they are not willing to send their men to die in battle. The mystical goes to Sparta to ask King Leonidas and his army for assistance. While there, he observes a Spartan training exercise in which a group of soldiers is abusing a single guy. The man gets severely wounded while trying to fight back. The mystic meets Dylos, who informs him that Leonidas has already started leading his men on foot and that he has already dealt with the emissaries sent from Persia. Gorgo speaks with the mystical to inform him that the Spartans do not share his vision of a free nation. When a prisoner is brought before Artesia on her ship, he chastises her two gods for being Greeks serving under a woman of Greek descent but a devout follower of an enemy nation. Grabbing her blade, Emma declares that although she may be Greek, her heart is Persian. She decapitates the guy and tosses his head off the ship. Upon spotting a former soldier she does not know, Emma replies, "Well, then allow me to introduce myself." Before executing several Persians, Bose, an Athenian soldier assigned to spy on the Persians, leaps into the water to escape being struck by the Persians' arrows. Together with his son Callisto, Lieutenant Ilos Silas informs Jack O'Connell upon his return to Theistic that Artesia is leading the Persians at sea. It is thought that she is the only survivor of an attack on her town. Through a flashback, we learn about her childhood. As a helpless and terrified child, Artesia watched in horror as her parents were killed in front of her eyes. A soldier from the invading side walks to Artesia and kicks her square in the face. Over the years, the soldiers raped and mistreated the girl until they abandoned her on the side of the street, where she was found and taken care of by the Persian embassy. The emissary trains aims during combat, demonstrating her speed and dangerousness. As an adult, she carried numerous severed heads of Darius's enemies and brought them to him, earning her the title of his general. Keeping this in mind, Mr. Klee prepared his strategy for battle. Ilos, her original plan was to return to Greece when she was ready to watch it burn, argues that the expedition was suicide because of their small navy's numerical disadvantage against the much bigger Persian navy. The mystic, confident in his soldiers, responds by leading them all out to sea. General Arthens informs Artesia, who is in charge of her navy, that General Bandari has planned his plan to guide the ships against the Greeks. The mystic gives the men courage by urging them to fight alongside those who are supporting them. The Athenians then launch their ships into the Persian ships that are charging at them with all of their might and fury. This results in another fierce battle in which many Persians are killed by the Athenians. Silas and Callisto fight alongside each other, with Callisto hurling his spears at the Persians. The generals believe that Artesia is disappointed with the death of her men, but she acknowledges that she is disappointed in them specifically. She muses over the idea of having someone by her side. The next day, the Athenians forced the Persians to sail their ships through a crevice, which caused the leading ship to become stuck and the other ships to crash into it from the nearby cliffs. Artesia is unhappy with the outcome and has Bandari chained down and put into the sea. The second general to command the Persians is slaughtered by the Athenians as they charge in. Atheistic kills Kashuani Silian and observes Callisto entering the battle, obviously not wanting to see his son suffer any injuries. As Artesia observes from her ship, admiring Theistic tactics, Command Arthan takes a boat to the shores where the Athenians have made camp. She compliments Theistic's fighting prowess during the battle, and when she brings him into her private chambers, she asks him if he fights for anyone back in Athens. He mystically states that he has no time for a family or children. Artesia offers him a chance to join her so that he will not have to live with conflict or responsibility, hissing to him that he is no god but merely a man. Returning to the camp, Mystical informs his troops that Artemia is ready to unleash hell on them. The Athenians fought off the guards until Artesia fired her arrows, which caused the Persians' burning arrows to ignite the tar. The Persian ships had discharged tar into the water, and numerous soldiers had been swimming out to the Athenians with explosives strapped to their backs. As Callisto watches on one of the Persian ships, Artesia shoots more arrows, striking 3 people in Silice. A giant Persian man uses torches to continue fueling the flames. However, he is struck by an arrow and drops the torch over himself, putting himself on fire. He tumbles off the ship into the leaking tar, igniting a fire that not only strikes an Athens ship but also lands on the Persian ship again, causing it to blow up. As the Persian climbs onto the mysterious ship, Artesia fires another flaming arrow at his back, ordering everyone to evacuate. Artesia lunges towards the Persian, but before he can hit him, the explosive detonates, destroying the ship and taking Theistic down with it. With pride, Artesia observes her adversary disappearing into the waves and vanishing amid the corpses of his fallen allies. He watches as 2 snake-like animals approach them, consume them, and then one of them rushes for him. When Callisto wakes the mystic Clee from his dream, he understands that perhaps this was meant to break his ego or serve as a reminder of his error in not slaying Xerxes. When Silas is near death, the mystic approaches him and begs him to carry on fighting. Before passing away, the mystic tells his friend one last thing. Callisto asks Mystic what his father said before he passed away, but Mystic mystically replies that he will tell him in due course. On Land Zero, the mystic and his army have killed Leonidas and his 300. As the Persians march on triumphantly, the birds pick at the eyes of the dead Spartans. News of this reaches the mystic through a messenger, and he returns to Sparta to face the deformed hunchback who betrayed the Spartans and sold them out to Xerxes. Although he appears to be regretting his actions, he does not seem to care when Mystic lowers his sword to him and tells him that there is little beauty in him and even less in what he's done. Xerxes is taking his troops to an Ains and is ready to destroy it, says Aleales. The mystic goes to speak with Queen Gorgo, who is now half blind, and warns him not to expect a warm welcome. Gorgo is still in mourning for her husband, even though the mystical urges her to assist in the ongoing battle, but she refuses to send any more husbands, fathers, or sons out to be sacrificed. The mystical leaves him alive so that he may carry the message back to the Persians, saying that the Greeks will fight to the death. He gives her the sword of Leonidas, claiming it is hers. Gorgo sobs when she sees it, and the Persian army captures Athens. Eels returns to Xerxes and Artesia to report that the Greeks are continuing to retake their battle in the sea, while Xerxes holds the head of Leonidas boastfully over the city as his men lay waste to the people and burn everything down. He also continues to brag about his victory and claims that the mystical was nothing more than a coward. Once more, upon hearing his name and understanding that he is still alive, Artesia swears to finally depart to prepare for her command. The mystic recognizes that his men may grow tired of fighting since they too would not put up with any more bloodshed. He encourages them to take action and leave right away if they so choose to preserve their freedom, but he also encourages them to continue fighting so that it can be demonstrated that we prefer to die on our feet rather than live on our knees. The Greeks applauded in their decisive fight at sea. The small group of Athenians defeated the vast Persian fleet. Callisto informs his father that he has earned a place at the table again. As the mystic and Artesia are set to lead their men into battle, their ships collide, and the Athenians charge against the Persians. Emisia, using her swords, fights against the Greeks, killing off as many as she can. Mr. Clee rides his horse through the battle, reminding Artesia of her earlier offer. They hold swords at each other's necks, and Mystic Sea refuses to join Artesia, stating it's time for her to surrender. Gorgo leads her army of Spartans, delivering a rousing speech as they approach the Persian fleet, with armies from other allied nations joining in the fight. Theistic confronts Artemisia with a sword, urging her to surrender. Artemisia refuses, but Theistic drives his sword into her stomach. In her final moments, she watches as allied forces surround her navy. Xerxes watches from a cliffside, turning his back on her. Artemisia collapses dead. The film ends with the Spartans and Athenians uniting to defeat the Persians, and Gorgo and Dylos stand by her. Mystic Sea and Gorgo engage in a duel-based fight.